All right, let's get right into it. I want to walk you through a pretty catastrophic 15-month delay that happened on a big equipment purchase. But here's the thing. This isn't really a story about a late delivery. We need to look at this whole mess for what it actually was, a complete, and I mean total, failure of governance. Exactly. See, the 15 months of wasted time and money, that's just the symptom. The real disease here was the broken system that let it all happen. A system that had no controls, zero leverage, and, well, not much of a real contract to begin with. And this analogy just hits the nail on the head. Think about it. By paying for a complex piece of machinery 100% upfront with no solid contract, you're not really buying something. You're giving your supplier a giant, unsecured loan with your company's cash, and you're just crossing your fingers hoping you get what you paid for. It's a huge gamble. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with that core governance failure, then trace the wild chain reaction of risk it kicked off. After that, we'll build the solution from the ground up, starting with how to think of a contract as a control system, then how to lock it all down with a solid process, and finally, how to get the right people in charge. Okay, first up, the governance failure itself. This is really all about what happens when you hand over your single biggest piece of leverage, all the money, before the job is anywhere close to done. And when that happens, these three things are pretty much inevitable. First, your supplier has all the cash, so where's the pressure to perform? Delays? No big deal for them. Second, those verbal promises you got, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. Poof, they just vanish, because nothing was in writing. And finally, the worst part. You've lost all your power. Your only move is to just keep conceding, throwing good money after bad, hoping to salvage the project. All right, next, let's look at how this thing just snowballed. This whole disaster wasn't one big mistake. Nope, it was a chain reaction, a cascade of 5 seemingly small oversights that just piled on top of each other until the whole thing collapsed. So check out this domino effect. Step 1. It all started by just trusting a verbal promise on really complex electrical standards. But since those standards weren't defined in a real statement of work, that's step 2, there was no way to hold anyone to them. Then came step 3. The point of no return, sending a simple purchase order which offers almost no legal protection, along with the full payment. All leverage, gone. Then, at step 4, they skipped critical factory testing, which basically guaranteed they wouldn't find the huge problems until after it was shipped. And the final domino? At step 5, management had no contractual leg to stand on, so their only move was to just pay more to try and fix the mess. So how do we prevent this from ever happening again? Well, it starts with a total mindset shift about what a contract even is. You have to stop seeing it as just some legal document that lawyers file away. Instead, think of it as an active, powerful engineering tool, a control system. So what does that actually mean, an engineering control system? It's all about taking the big unknowns in a project, like will it meet our quality standards, will it actually show up on time, and turning them into things you can measure, you can verify, and you can control. It's about moving from just hoping for the best to actively managing the risk. And the way we build this control system is with a really smart 3-part modular structure. It's not one giant, scary document. It's 3 separate pieces, and each one has a very specific job to do. Module 1 is the master agreement. Think of this as the legal foundation, the bedrock for the whole deal. It sets all the ground rules, which country's law applies, who's on the hook if things go wrong, and exactly how you can get out of the deal if you need to. Then you've got the technical annex, the statement of work. This is the engineering brain of the operation. This is where you get super granular, defining the exact standards, the specific brands you require for key parts, and the performance metrics it has to hit. It makes quality totally objective. No arguments. And finally, Module 3, the acceptance annex. Honestly, this is the most powerful part. It's the show me the proof module. It spells out the exact tests the equipment has to pass, and, this is absolutely critical, it directly ties passing those tests to releasing the final payments. It's literally the on-off switch for your money. Okay, so we've got the contract designed, but a great contract is pretty useless without a process to actually enforce it, right? This is where we use money and milestones to really lock down the risk. And the big idea here is to completely change the job of money. In that failed project, paying was just a start button. In this new system, we use milestone payments as a behavior controller. It's like a steering wheel that guides what the supplier works on and what they prioritize every step of the way. And this chart shows you exactly what that looks like in practice. Just look at how the cash flows. A tiny 10% is paid upfront. The vast majority of the money, a whopping 60%, is held back until two major proof points are hit: passing the factory acceptance test before it ships and getting the installation done. And that final 10%? You hold on to it until it passes the final site acceptance test in your own facility. You are always in control. To manage all this, we use what's called a stage gate process. Just think of these 7 gates as checkpoints that you absolutely cannot skip. You have to get formal sign-off at Gate 2, the compliance review, before you're even allowed to move to Gate 3 and sign the contract. You must pass Gate 5, the factory test, before you can hit the button to authorize shipment. It forces everyone to stay disciplined. And what makes it stick are these simple, unbreakable rules that everybody gets. No PO goes out until a full contract is signed, period. No deposit gets paid until you've agreed on all the compliance standards. No shipment is allowed until it passes that factory test. And absolutely no final payment is released until that machine is humming along perfectly on your site. These rules are what prevent those deadly shortcuts. Okay, we've got the contract, we've got the process, but none of it works without solving the root organizational problem. For our final section, let's talk about aligning people, power, and proof. And this right here, this is the heart of the original problem. The whole thing fell apart because the organizational structure was fundamentally broken. You had people in finance or procurement who didn't understand the deep technical details with the power to sign off on payments. Meanwhile, the engineers who knew there were serious problems had no power to stop the money from going out the door. The fix is a super clear responsibility chart, like this one. Engineering is now formally accountable for all the technical stuff and the final sign-off. They hold the keys. Procurement handles the commercial side. But now, look at finance's role. This is the game changer. Their job is only to cut the check after a gate has been officially approved by the right person. It creates the checks and balances that were missing before. And finally, you support this whole system with 3 cultural disciplines. Number 1, document everything. From now on, verbal promises are basically worthless. Number 2, manage with evidence. A project isn't green just because someone feels good about it. They have to show you the proof. And number 3, link action directed to proof. If a supplier misses a deliverable, the next payment, the next step just pauses automatically. The system enforces itself. We've covered a ton of ground here, right? From contracts to process to people. So if you're going to remember just one thing from all of this, what should it be? It's this, right here. When you are buying complex stuff from overseas and you do it without a rock-solid contract and standards you can actually verify, that's not procurement. That's just gambling with your company's money and its future. And that is a bet you simply cannot afford to lose.